You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. She was a British teacher in Japan. He was a quiet student with a dark obsession. Days after their lesson, her body was found in a bathtub of sand, and her killer, he vanished, undergoing plastic surgery and evading police for nearly 3 years. This is the shocking case of Tatsuya Ichihashi and the murder of Lindsay Hawker. Chapter 1. The bright future of Lindsay Hawker, Lindsay Ann Hawker, was a 22-year-old woman from Coventry, England. A bright student, she had recently graduated with a degree in biology from the University of Leeds. Like many young graduates, she yearned to explore the world, and her curiosity about other cultures drew her to Japan. In October 2006, she moved to Tokyo, where she took a position with the Nova Language School, teaching English to Japanese students. Lindsay settled in quickly, making friends, adapting to the culture, and exploring her new surroundings with enthusiasm. Her life in Japan appeared peaceful. She shared an apartment with 2 other teachers and communicated regularly with her family and boyfriend back in the UK. Her days consisted of lesson planning, commuting, meeting students, and embracing Japanese society. But behind this exciting chapter in her life was a lurking danger she could never have foreseen. She would eventually cross paths with a man whose obsession and depravity would end her life in the most horrific way. That man was Tatsuya Ichihashi. Born in 1979, Ichihashi came from a privileged background. His father was a doctor and his mother was a dentist. He studied horticulture at Chiba University, a respected institution, and had no known criminal record. But underneath the surface, Ichihashi was deeply troubled. He was socially isolated, prone to violent pornography, and described by former classmates as emotionally distant and volatile. He had an unhealthy fixation on Western women, particularly English speakers. Lindsay encountered Ichihashi by chance. He approached her in a cafe and insisted she help him with English. When she hesitated, he followed her home, pleading for lessons. Despite her reservations, Lindsay agreed to meet him again for a paid private lesson. She scheduled a session for March 25, 2007, at his apartment in Uchikawa, just outside Tokyo. It was a decision that would cost her everything. Chapter 2, The Last English Lesson. On the morning of March 25, 2007, Lindsay Hawker went to Ichihashi's apartment for the arranged lesson. She had mentioned the upcoming session to her roommates and boyfriend. The plan was simple. She would teach the lesson, return home, and prepare for the week ahead, but she never came back. That evening, when Lindsay failed to answer phone calls or return home, her roommates became alarmed. She had been diligent about checking in and never missed scheduled plans. Concern turned to panic as time passed. Her boyfriend and colleagues reported her disappearance to the police, providing the name and address of the student she was scheduled to meet, Tatsuya Ichihashi. The following morning, police visited Ichihashi's apartment. He answered the door but immediately fled, sprinting barefoot down the corridor and leaping from a balcony to escape. Officers pursued him but were unable to catch him. The moment he vanished, the situation escalated. Inside the apartment, the officers discovered a horrifying scene. In a large bathtub placed on the balcony, buried under a mixture of sand and gardening soil, was the naked body of Lindsay Hawker. Her hands had been bound. Bruises and injuries indicated she had been severely beaten. A towel had been stuffed into her mouth, and her neck bore signs of strangulation. The presence of the bathtub on the balcony was no accident. Ichihashi had attempted to conceal her body, possibly to delay decomposition or evade detection. Nearby were plastic bags, hair-cutting tools, and items that suggested he was preparing to dispose of the remains. Ichihashi's flight from the crime scene suggested premeditation and fear. Investigators began piecing together the timeline, determining that Lindsay had likely been assaulted soon after arriving and killed later that same day. The manhunt for her killer officially began. Chapter 3: Japan's Most Wanted Man. The escape of Tatsuya Ichihashi triggered national outrage. The public criticized the police for allowing a suspect in a brutal murder to flee despite having surrounded his apartment. The British Embassy in Tokyo also became involved, providing support to Lindsay's grieving family and calling for justice. The Japanese authorities launched one of the most intensive manhunts in recent memory. Tatsuya Ichihashi was placed on a nationwide wanted list. His face appeared on television and newspapers and on wanted posters across the country. A 10 million yuan reward was offered for information leading to his arrest, but Ichihashi had vanished. He avoided the use of digital tools that could track him: no phone, no banking activity, and no internet. He reportedly spent nights in internet cafes, slept in parks, and worked cash-in-hand jobs on construction sites. He moved frequently between cities like Osaka, Fukuoka, and Naha, never staying long in one place. He used fake names and shaved his head at times to avoid detection. What shocked the public further was the lengths Ichihashi went to alter his appearance. At one point, he attempted to change his face through self-inflicted surgeries, using scissors and a mirror to cut away moles and reshape his nose. Eventually, he underwent actual plastic surgery multiple times, reportedly spending over 1 million yuan on procedures to narrow his nose, add creases to his eyelids, and reduce the size of his chin. The man who once appeared in police sketches now looked completely different. Despite years of searching, sightings, and false alarms, Ichihashi remained at large. His ability to live undetected in one of the world's most heavily policed countries made him a haunting symbol of both fear and failure. Chapter 4: A Cold Lead Warms Up by late 2009. The case had faded somewhat from public headlines, but it never left the minds of law enforcement or the Hawker family. They had flown to Japan multiple times, attending press conferences, holding vigils, and urging continued effort in the investigation. Then, in November 2009, a breakthrough came seemingly by chance. A man matching Ichihashi's altered appearance had been spotted at a cosmetic surgery clinic in Nagoya. An employee who had seen news reports about the case grew suspicious due to the man's reluctance to provide identification and his unusual behavior. He had come in multiple times for surgeries and always paid in cash. The employee reported the sighting, and police began surveillance. On November 10, 2009, Ichihashi boarded a ferry in Okinawa bound for Osaka. Police, already on high alert, coordinated a quiet interception. When the ferry docked, plainclothes officers approached the suspect. He initially gave a false name and resisted questioning, but after being fingerprinted, his identity was confirmed. It was indeed Tatsuya Ichihashi captured after 2 years and 7 months on the run. He was arrested and transported under heavy guard to Chiba. News of the arrest broke internationally. Cameras flashed as he was escorted by police, emotionless and silent. Japan exhaled in relief. For the Hawker family, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, the pursuit of justice. Chapter 5: The Killer's Memoir. While in custody awaiting trial, Ichihashi did something unexpected. He wrote and published a 230-page memoir titled Until I Was Arrested. In it, he chronicled his 31 months as a fugitive. He described sleeping in parks, working construction jobs, and undergoing surgery. He claimed to have spent most of his time tormented by guilt and regret. He painted himself as a haunted figure who had loved Lindsay and acted in a moment of desperation. According to the book, he panicked when Lindsay attempted to flee and restrained her, leading to her accidental death. He said he had contemplated suicide multiple times and avoided people for fear of causing them pain. But critics saw through the narrative. The memoir contained little genuine remorse. Instead, it read more as an attempt to control the narrative and gain attention. The book was a commercial success, but backlash was swift. The Hawker family, while disgusted by the book's publication, agreed to accept all royalties as part of a settlement. Many questioned how a confessed killer could be allowed to profit from their notoriety. Others argued that the book offered rare insight into the mind of a murderer. But in the end, it only reinforced Ichihashi's disturbing need for control and self-preservation. Chapter 6. Trial and Sentencing. The trial of Tatsuya Ichihashi began in July 2011 at the Chiba District Court. It drew intense media attention both in Japan and internationally. Lindsay's parents traveled once more to Tokyo to attend the proceedings, hoping to find closure in the court's judgment. Ichihashi faced charges of rape resulting in death, murder, and abandonment of a corpse. However, prosecutors later dropped the rape charge due to insufficient evidence, instead charging him with assault leading to death. In court, Ichihashi admitted to causing Lindsay's death, but denied it was premeditated. He claimed the incident spiraled out of control after she tried to leave. He said he never intended to kill her, only to stop her from calling the police. The court heard harrowing details about Lindsay's final hours, the evidence of restraint, the bathtub filled with soil, and the attempts to conceal her body. Forensic experts testified to the trauma she suffered before death. It was clear that Ichihashi's actions were calculated and prolonged, not accidental. On July 21, 2011, the court handed down a life sentence. The judge ruled that Ichihashi's conduct had shown no regard for human dignity, and that his flight from justice compounded the severity of the crime. He would spend the rest of his life behind bars with no eligibility for parole for at least 10 years. Chapter 7. Memory and Justice. More than a decade has passed since the tragic murder of Lindsay Hawker, but the pain has never faded for those who loved her. Her family continues to honor her memory through advocacy, education, and awareness campaigns around international safety and violence against women. The case left a deep mark on Japanese society as well. It spurred national debate about police response time, the treatment of foreign nationals, and the ease with which fugitives could disappear. Policies were quietly reviewed in the wake of Ichihashi's escape, particularly around suspect detainment and border monitoring. Tatsuya Ichihashi remains in prison, serving his sentence with no known appeals. His name continues to evoke disgust and anger across Japan and the UK. For the Hawker family, justice was eventually served, but at an unimaginable cost. Lindsay Hawker was a brilliant, compassionate young woman who embraced life and sought to make a difference. Her story is a chilling reminder that evil can wear a polite face, and that one decision, even the simple act of saying yes to a lesson, can change everything. That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.